have your attention, please? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome.
All right. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? All the way from Ohio, Matt Keegan. What
Hello.
is going on, bro?
What's up?
It's good. It's good to have you on here, man. Definitely good to have you on.
Thanks for having me, dude. Appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
great.
bro. Yeah, man. I tell you, it's been cool. You know, I've been meeting a lot of people through this podcast and connecting with a lot of different creators and whatnot. And it's awesome, man. You got a story. Absolutely love it, and we just want to share that with everybody else.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Happy to be a part of this, man. I really am. It's cool.
Definitely, man. So how was the day today?
It was good. It was good. I just performed at a school. Well, not at a school, I was at a church, like in the middle of nowhere. And this church got packed with kids, right? There was this guy named Kiwi Morris, and he's like, "Oh, I tour, I do these shows." You know, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know I was walking in, and we had met at the Michiana Fest last Saturday, and I seen him perform, but I just didn't have an idea of like what this dude was about to throw down. You know, so it was like
Mm,
kids 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, probably up to like 15, and there was like 70 of them that packed out this church.
man.
So I mean, and my
Yeah.
music's a little graphic for kids at church, you know what I mean? So like I tried to like just I have a song that I have about a relationship with God, but it's still very grown up. And then I have the song I wrote, it's called Comfortable in Chaos, and it's like about my life growing up, and my life was wild growing up, and
Mm,
it's a lot about drugs and getting high with your parents and overdosing and getting abused and stuff like that. So I did my two songs, and yeah, it was well received, but you can tell these are young kids, you know what I
yeah.
mean? And like, but this
Yeah.
Kiwi dude though, man, he like came up and like he had these kids hypnotized, bro. I mean, he had them moving, circling around the stage. He was taking their phones, and like he had them screaming, dude. It was crazy. Like it was really cool to sit back and watch. And for me, I was just taking a lot of notes. I was like, man, there's, you know what I mean? And everything that he was doing was like based out of with God too. And like he was real
Right.
humble, real cool. You could just tell like the message that he was like espousing was like really what he was about it. You know what I mean? Like he walked with God, and he talked it and he walked it, and
Yeah.
it was
Right.
awesome. So yeah, my no earth shattering revelations from me. Nobody was like, oh my
Right.
God, like nobody really even came up and said anything to me, but it's cool.
Yeah.
That's not what we was there for, you know. If anything, it was
Yeah.
just a cool experience, you know. So
Yeah.
no worries.
No, I was gonna when you mentioned church, I was gonna be like, man, I wonder how you pulled that off because I was upstairs earlier and I was listening to some of your reels on Instagram and it's like, fuck this, or, different things, and I'm like, oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have like a set of like where I don't cuss. So I have like I can do a whole
Gotcha.
set where I don't swear. I have a whole bunch of songs where I don't swear. If I'm doing like a family friendly, like the Michiana Fest, it was they didn't want me to cuss, so I can do that because a lot of songs I wrote
Yeah.
I don't cuss. But then lately, I've just been kind of leaning into it where I do cuss because it's just you know, for me, this epidemic don't play. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the and the people I'm trying to reach and the message I'm trying to convey is, you know, people are fucking dying like crazy, bro. You know, and like I want to talk about it and bring the real shit out to the surface. And if I cuss and I say some bad words, you know, if God wants me to remove my cuss words, he'll put that on my heart, but it ain't just on my heart
Right.
today.
Right.
So, you
Yeah,
know,
that's kind of like it's like the same with this podcast, like I've had people ask me, "Can I curse? Can I not?" I'm like, "Dude, you do what the fuck you want." Like,
yeah,
because at the
cool.
end of the day, I'm not gonna censor you, like that's
Yeah.
why we created this platform. Is
You know,
it's
I
for
was
people to
guessing
be
that.
real.
I was guessing that earlier. I was like, should I say five? I was like, well, he didn't tell me not to at the beginning. He didn't give me any explicit directions not to. So I'm gonna do it
You're
and see what he
good.
says.
Nah, bro, you're good.
Cool.
I mean, it's not like every other fucking podcast that we do. You guess is saying fuck, so.
Right. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
yeah,
So
man, no, it's cool, bro. It's cool to have you. Like I told you on the phone, like she's sent me some, some reels and some songs that you made. Our mutual friend has done the same thing with the Subtoxin and whatnot. So it's actually pretty cool to be able to just find new creators that are doing the same thing, that are standing for the same movement.
yeah. And that's you know, it's cool that I'm even here, bro. You know, I didn't expect it to go this far at all. You know, we're in bonus rounds, you know. I was, I'm just kind of along for the ride at this point, man. And just stuff kind of keeps materializing and happening. And somebody asks me to do something, I say yes. I'm just here
Yeah,
for it. Cool.
agree, man. So, all right. Well, you want to jump right into it and tell us who Matt Keegan is.
It's a good question. I don't know. I'm just a former drug addict, dope fiend. I just want to share. I just want to bring something real to this, because I've watched people in this space for a long time, and I see a lot of, you know, I just see a lot of stuff for likes. I see a lot of stuff, a lot of people not really sharing like the real, what this really is, and what addiction and recovery is like. And for real, like what I really want to bring is just like recovery can suck sometimes. It's great. There are mountaintops that I've reached in recovery, but there's also, even now, I still have bad days, even with all the stuff going on. Like I still have some badass days that just suck because it's hard to rewire my brain because my brain says when I don't feel good, I like to get high. Right. So I'm relearning on how not to do that. And like, I just get depressed and, just out of nowhere too. It's crazy. The best things can be happening and I'll still be miserable. So learning to get through that and sharing that and just sharing that whole entire thing. You know what I mean? So I just want to inspire people. Like the very first time, like when I seen Kalichi's song "Drug Addiction," that was it. It had this effect on me, this movement. It just made me feel this type of way where I just wanted to do something. I wanted to create. I wasn't rapping back then either. I was a death metal drummer, and that was my goal. I wanted to be a big death metal drummer and play for like some big death metal band. And I heard that Kalichi song, and I was just, man, it lit me up, dude. That Drug Addiction song, it was so good. I remember listening to that line for line, just like, man, like this guy's talking about my life right here, And I seen what he wanted to do, seen what he was doing, and I had seen him in a couple like big recovery events, and that's kind of like where what I'm doing now was born, was like back then, seeing him do that, and I just wanted to do that. I wanted to share what I'd been through. I wasn't ready back then at all. I had like 3 more relapses in me. I had to run some shit into the ground, but it happened, here today, and I've been modeling and believing for that to happen for years and years and years, and I just got a poster back from the Get Sober, Stay Sober event where like my face and my name is like on the same poster as Kalichi, and it's like it's fucking cool, because I always would see those posters. I'd always see the recovery events that he's doing, man. And I'd always wanted to do that. I always wanted to just come and share a message,
Yeah.
And I'm getting to today. I'm getting to go all over and share. It's crazy. It's literally insane because I've talked
He's a
myself
good
out of
guy.
it. He is a super
Yeah.
solid dude. He's not a hater at all. Like he's super cool, man. And I can totally see, it's demanding. There's a lot that I didn't expect. It's like you look at it and you think it's like going to be this one particular way, but it's very demanding. And I work a full-time job too, where I'm I'm a server. I'm doing like 30-40 hours a week of serving, plus trying to build this platform and plus putting out music, and then talking to my producer all the time, and then making meetings, and like I work AA, so like I'm doing stuff, you know what I mean? Like I'm involved, and
Yeah.
bro, it's cool. I'm having a good time. I really am.
It's crazy because it's like, bro, how recovery can bring so much amazing things, but man, I tell you, like it is busy too. Like I was just telling her, I was like, he works a full-time job and he still does this, and we do the same thing. Like, man, I work a full-time job, she works a full-time job. I run a motorcycle club. And then I do this podcast, bro. I am so busy. It's there's times I'm 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'm editing or doing something, and it's just like. But you know what? I would do it all over again because I enjoy doing it. Absolutely love it. But damn, bro, it's like 5 years
I'm
ago, I never thought I would do it.
Sure. And you know what I'm willing to bet, which I was thinking of this. I was like, man, watch me be here right as this dude's about to take off. You know what I'm saying? Like the first like couple ones, like, like I'm in my room, you're in, like you got your room right there. Like that's
Yeah,
I can see you taking off and going somewhere, man. And that'd be super cool if like we got to grind out from right here,
bro.
working a full-time job, staying busy.
Yep,
And this is what it takes. Like if you want to do this, like for me, like
absolutely.
I don't feel like I can't, you know what I mean? I feel like I 100% can. It's just how hard are you willing to work for it, And
Right.
how many times are you willing to have the door shut in your face and show up and keep
Yeah.
trying to get through that motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Well, like I told you when we first talked, like, bro, I was on the verge of quitting. I was
Mm-hmm.
I was done, man. I was mentally, physically, drained, emotionally, just everything. I was just like, I felt that things weren't because I didn't feel that things were moving at my pace,
Yeah.
and I was just like, man, I was so close. I told her, I was like, I'm done. But something just kept telling me, hold on, hold on, hold on, bro. I held on. And now this whole second wave that we got coming up, bro. So like you're coming on at an amazing time because it's like the last couple of guests and the future guests that we have, mind blowing. I mean, and I'm not trying to like say that we're the shit or anything, but I never would expect to be, Kalichi, Trap Masters, Damian Styles, all these people, man, who like I, I looked up to in their music, and I'm able to sit and have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So
Talking about the other people, I was excited to have him on.
no. She loves that because she went through her Suboxone journey,
Ah.
and so
Oh. Yep. Oh, trust me, I did too. That's those songs comes from experience. Like I lived that. And yeah. So are you off? You made it off. You got
Yeah,
you
this
nice. Did
December
you
will
come
be
off?
2
Did you
years
come off
since I
cold
last
turkey?
posted. So I was tapering, and it wasn't my choice to stop cold turkey, but things happen in life, and it just happened that way. I stopped cold turkey at 4 milligrams.
Wow. Yeah, I was tapered to an eighth of a strip, and I was sick for about, I would say, 28 days minimum. I mean,
Yeah.
like I remember going like the first 5 days, and it wasn't that bad, and I was like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna breeze right through this. And like day 6, 7 hit, and I was
You
dog
know
sick. And I remember it
what helped
going
me?
into the second week, and I'm like, why am I still sick?
What helped me is everyone around me. I didn't detox at my house. I detoxed at my family's house.
Ah,
Um, Everyone had COVID,
oh, really?
so we were all sick. My kids were just lounging. Everyone was just lounging, so it was a lot more comfortable, I think, than it would have been.
Sure. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's good.
So
Congratulations. Do you work any type of program, or did you just decide you was done and you stepped off?
I worked a lot with my doctors. I asked a lot of questions. I did a lot
Yeah,
of my own research. I asked other people. Like there was times where I would tell my doctor, "Hey, I'm ready to taper," and she's like, "No, you have too much going on." She's like, "You
that
can
is
take
so
less."
crazy.
She's like, "You can
That's so
take less,
crazy.
but I'm not going to prescribe less to you because if you need it, I want it to be there." And it wasn't until I started becoming really honest with her that it really started to
Right.
help. Just having that support. And it's like I hear people that don't have doctors that are supportive like that, and I got real lucky. I
And let
got
me ask you, let me
really
ask you a
lucky.
question. Did your doctor ever discuss with you that it would be hard to come off, or that it could be potentially very addicting, even more
Um,
so than regular opiates?
well,
Yes.
well,
Okay, good.
we
Okay,
discussed
good.
tapering for a while and what that would look like for me, and we took it month by month. Sometimes,
Huh.
I meet once a week for a couple months in a row, and we taper a little bit or we want it, but I'm I wanted it to work, and I didn't want
Sure.
to keep relying on something every day, so I was honest, and if I needed something, I reached out, and they were
Wow.
always
Okay.
there. So it helped. It helped.
Well, I'm glad that we took this spin into this territory, because that's a big thing for me, as a lot of people want to know my stance on Suboxone and MAT, and this narrative gets shoved down my throat that I'm anti MAT and anti Suboxone, and that is not the case at all. Like I refer people to Suboxone clinics sometimes. Like, there's somebody I know that I would rather see somebody alive than dead. But it's just the way that it's prescribed that is my issue. You know what I mean? A lot of doctors don't know about it. They have no idea. They're just told it's a cure for addiction. They take a little class, and they don't understand they're prescribing another addictive opiate, or at least that it's not communicated to them. You know what I mean? There's family doctors prescribing this now. There used to be certain doctors that could prescribe it only, and now it's every doctor can do it. And it's like, for me, it's just, you just be upfront with what it's going to be at the beginning, and say, well, this is, this, you're making a trade. You're putting on a type of handcuffs for the most part. Yes, you'll get your life back, but you're going to be stuck to taking something every day. And when you're ready to come off, potentially you can go through a lot of withdrawals. And there's a big argument with people where they're like, well, I've tapered, I've done a slow taper, and I didn't feel any withdrawal. Cool. Some people are blessed with great genetics. For the rest of us, there's a lot of other people that don't have that. And I just think that all sides should be explored. And like, people will straight up tell me that I'm killing people. Like that Subtoxin song, they tell me I'm killing people. I'm creating hesitancy. And it's like, I'm not trying to create hesitancy. I'm just trying to create awareness. And most importantly, share my experience with it, because we abused, in my circles, we abuse Suboxone. We lie to doctors and we tell you to get us, where we exaggerate our use. So we get 3 8s, 4 8s a day, sell the fuck out of them, pay our bills, get more drugs, and then we keep like a half an 8 for ourselves. And that's not just like me and a small section of people. That's like every junkie, hustler, dope fiend in the country. That's like a big thing. That's like a bunch of us do that. It's not just me and little Bellevue running that game. Like, that's a real easy game to run, Now you don't even gotta piss dirty. Now you could just go get a hold of a doctor on telehealth and you can just get it online. That's crazy to me. That's real crazy to me.
Like I never went the Suboxone route, to be honest with you. When I got off fentanyl, I went cold turkey. They wanted me to get on they offered me Suboxone and then methadone, but I was like, no, because I knew the methadone was, I knew more about the methadone just because my best friend had been on it for so many years after getting off heroin, and I saw how he was pretty much addicted to the methadone. And then the Suboxone, like I knew about it, but I was just like, yeah. But they pushed and they pushed. I said, no, I'm good. I cold turkeyed in my house for 2 weeks in the pitch black dark, and I just, it was absolutely unbearable. But I'd be honest with you, I am grateful that I did not go down the Suboxone route or the methadone route. Again, I'm not, just like you, I'm not knocking it because I've never done it, but that's just, it wasn't for me, I mean, and what works for me may not work for you or anybody else, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means it doesn't work for me personally.
Sure. And I wish there was more sentiment like that. Like, we're all on the same team at the end of the day. Me and the MAT people, we're on the same team. Like all of us, really. It's just our experiences are different. And I'm just, I'm suspect of these same companies that they're here to help. Now that suddenly they care, but it's like, you guys caused this from the jump. You guys incentivized doctors. You guys pushed millions and millions of pills out your little factories. Y'all started this, right? And so now you're going to save us. And it just so happens that what you're saving us with is very addictive in itself and happens to be something that you take every day. You know what I mean? So that's just, yeah, I'm grateful that I didn't have to go that route either, man, because I was miserable on Suboxone. I was a shell of myself. I was really numb, angry a lot. I was really had a real bad temper, just because, like, when you take opiates and you get like real agitated real easily. That's how I was on Suboxone all the time. If I'd take that and I would just be on a hair trigger, So not for me, I'm grateful for that today. It's nice being able to wake up and just be like, hey, I wonder what I can do today, and just feel awesome, not have to take anything at all,
How were you on it?
It was kind of the same. I never nodded out and stuff like that. I was opposite. Like opiates always gave me energy, so the Suboxone gave me energy.
Sure.
But going back, like what you said before, like I didn't even get 30 days sober before COVID shut everything down.
Oh, wow.
So my whole recovery was, I've graduated from rehab 3 times, just because that's my choice. I keep going back because I want those tools, but my whole recovery, my whole Suboxone journey was on a camera with doctors that were 4 hours away. I lied to them. I was on 3 8s a day. Some days I take half of one. Some days I was taking 5 strips. And I would notice the difference. I was useless until I took that Suboxone. I was absolutely useless to the world. And I did overnights for a while too. In that I'd get a little run down in the middle of the night. I'd take a Suboxone. And then it wasn't as intense as the agitation that I would get from the opiates, but I would notice myself getting closer to there. And once I realized those feelings coming back, I'd be like, oh, I need to take the medicine.
Yeah, sure.
I need to take it. So.
I like how you say you took it and it gave you energy. That's like my big thing. A lot of people, like, they think that addicts abuse drugs just because, we're getting fucked up, and like to a certain degree, sure. But a lot of like my use centers around getting energy, like feeling better, getting motivated, like, oh, I have all these things that I have to do. It would just feel so much better if I could just be dialed in and just feel right to get all this stuff done. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got to be a dad today, or, oh, I got all these chores and I got to clean the house and I got to do laundry, and it'd just be better if I had a buzz about it. You know what I mean? So like, that's been my use always, especially work. Work was a huge trigger. I grew up in like working in manufacturing factories where it was just like, drugs and work went hand in hand, you know what I mean? And not like the, you know, where people shooting up heroin or anything, but just, you know, a couple perks, a couple oxys, you know, maybe some Adderall, you know, stuff like that, just to make you want to be there, you know, which I remember looking at like normal people and just, I remember I was so like confounded back in the day, like how the hell do these people come here sober every single day and they make something of themselves here, you know? I do that now today, you know what I mean? But I could not wrap my head around that shit back then, you know. So
So being in the factory before, you know, said people were using a lot and stuff like that, I'm sure being a server, that, you know, those come hand in hand. Are you open at work about your recovery and stuff like that?
every, everybody knows what I do at my job, you know, especially with like how the platform has been lately. I show up on everybody's For You page, and then I get people that like come in and like ask for me all the time. You know, I get people
Mm.
having me take pictures with their kids. Like it's fucking cool. I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's really, really
I
sweet.
bet.
Yeah. And yeah, so they're all, everybody that, you know, that follows me and supports me and, you know, loves what I do. And it's cool, man. It's really, it's a really cool experience because, you know, it's funny. I don't go around telling people I'm a rapper anymore. You know, I made that mistake before, you know, I was egotistical and insecure. Once I got secure with myself, and I don't do that no more. But then like I'll go to places and start working there, and then all of a sudden I'll start popping up on people's For You page, and then they'll be like, man, I didn't know you could do that. Like, wow, that's really, really cool. He's like, you know, I'm feeling this song, I feel that song. He's like, you know, or I got a kid that's, you know, in this, but you know, it's cool, bro. It's quite the experience because I've been doing this for a long time, and you know, nothing really came of it, you know, and it's just like really been this year that stuff has really been like happening, you know. And honestly, man, it's not like this big gratifying deal because the platform and music and all that shit, dude, like it's not going to keep you happy. You know what I mean? That stuff really doesn't mean anything, really. Like for me, like my life has to be centered around spiritual, you know, a good recovery and good like fellowship. You know, if I don't have none of those things, like I can fucking have 1 million followers and make 6 figures a year. You know, I could clear 10 grand a month and I'd piss it all away in a second, you know?
Right. Well, yeah, you said, you know, like you come in, you know, they come in, they ask for you to take pictures, and it's not more of like, yo, I'm the shit, but it's more of like you feel grateful because you know that you're making an impact. You know, when somebody says, hey, I know you from this or from this, you know, it's not like saying you're a celebrity. It's just saying like people are recognizing that like what I am doing is out here making an impact in this world.
Yeah, I get to inspire people, dude. Like I get to do that, you know? Like out of all the things to use like social media for and their phones in this like new world that we live in where everything is just broadcasted 24/7 all the time. It's like, man, I'm
Yeah.
grateful that that's what I get to broadcast. You know what I mean? Because I've been a source of pain and a source of negativity in my life before, you know, and it's like God turned all that around in my life and I get to share that now and it's fucking awesome.
It's a grind, bro. It's a grind. Like you said, you did this for years without anything taken off. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been
Oh,
working
yeah.
on this podcast, bro, for 2 years, and it wasn't
Yeah.
until this year that things started literally turning around. You know, two
Sure.
years, bro. But and I
Yep.
remember you were telling me on the phone that you rapped to pretty much nobody for years. You know, until
Oh, yeah.
things finally
Yep.
started taking off for you.
I remember thinking it was like a big deal that I got like 3,000 views on a YouTube video that I put out, you know, or if like it got 100 likes on Facebook, like that was like,
Mhm.
that was good for me, you know,
Right.
that was crazy. Or if I could like go play a show with like 10 people, you know, I was blown away, you know, so it's cool.
Right.
It's really cool the
It,
direction that's gone. And it's a grind,
hey,
like you said, it's a grind.
absolutely. But it
Go ahead.
things pay off. I mean, it pays off absolutely. You know, like we met through this podcast.
Wow.
That we met through on opposite ends of the country. You know, I was on the West Coast, she's on the East Coast. We met through this podcast. No joke.
Wow.
And you know, here we are. Fast forward, you know, what 12 to 14, 15 months, you know, months later or something like that. You know, but it's just like, man, I tell you, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. Like this, the outcome of what can happen. You know.
Absolutely. And for anybody watching or listening, man, if you want to know, it's consistency. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's real consistency and then belief. You got to believe it's going to be successful, and you have
absolutely.
to put in the work and take the steps in order for that to happen. And you got to invest in yourself a little bit. I've had to spend some money on this, and I've had to lose some money on this when I've had precious little monies to spend to begin with, you know? And it's been a great trip. And the way I look at it too is like, I'm not tied to this outcome. There's this book, it's called, can't remember the author, but it's called A Field of Diamonds. And it essentially espouses being attached to the outcome, but oh man, I'm brain farting. I'm gonna look silly right now. Detached from the outcome. Can't remember it. I'm detached from the outcome. You know what I mean? Like whatever happens at the end is what's going to happen. And I'm just kind of along for the ride. I have that's what it is, having a burning desire while being detached from the outcome. So I have this desire that I'm passionate about and I'm putting this stuff out there, but I'm also detached from the outcome, because let's say that this doesn't go anywhere. Let's say that God pivots and has me go into a different direction of something else and some sort of service, some sort of whatever it is that he wants me to do. That's what I'm going to do, because I've turned my will and my life over to a care of God that I understand. And it's made my life a lot simpler. And it's like, once I let go, the minute I let go, which was this year, by the way, it was after my relapse, and I let go entirely of worrying about views, worrying if video is going to do well, and worrying if a song is going to do well. The second I let go and I stopped caring about it, that's when it really started to take off, you know? So burning desire, detachment of outcome. And it's been great. I don't really worry about stuff, you know. I don't worry about where this is going to go, where that's going to go, and then this stuff keeps happening, you know. It's cool.
Being on the authentic, I do, and if you don't want to talk about this, you don't have to, but you spoke of your relapse. So, I mean, is that something, you know?
Hell yeah, I want to talk about this. Absolutely.
I mean, because I really think that people need to really know, you know, like that it can happen, you know?
Sure. Definitely, like the only, like, I guess, recovery artists to do this too is, you know, I had the platform was growing. I had a couple, you know, I was mainly on TikTok. I had no other following really. I had like a small YouTube following, but mainly like, I think like 70,000 followers on TikTok at the time. But, you know, I'm like helping people get into treatment. I'm helping people, you know, like 95% of what I do, I'm like getting a hold of people and driving people to Medicaid facilities across Ohio. I'm like helping people find, you know, because there's all these different websites. Like if you can find treatment wherever you're at, anywhere in the country, you know. So that's a lot of what I did, and I was grinding hard. And I'm like, I'm known for the guy that helps people find rehab. I'm known for the guy that helps people, you know, that speaks at some events. I only spoke at a couple. It wasn't nothing crazy, but like, you know, had a couple videos do like 1 million+ views, had my song kind of blown up on TikTok a little bit, a lot of people using the sounds, but you know, I made all that like my God, right? So I'm almost 2 years sober at this point, and I have this big reputation. I'm going live on TikTok all the time. I'm putting out recovery music. I'm telling my story to people about how I wanted to be like Kalichi one day, and one day I was gonna share a stage with him, and one day I was gonna perform at the events that he did, and blah blah blah. And I just lost sight of what got me sober in the first place. And that's my spirituality, my fellowship, my working with another alcoholic or addict. You know what I mean? Giving away what was given to me. I stopped doing that. And for me, I was sober because I'm making sober videos with my phone, and I'm making little TikToks, and that's it. And I'm helping people, and I'm changing people's lives, and I'm getting people into rehab. That's good, right? So I stopped working on my programs. I stopped talking to my sponsor. I stopped going to meetings. And then I have had a weakness with Kratom on and off since 2016. I don't know if people are familiar with Kratom, but it's like this legal opiate that you can buy. It comes as a tea. They market it to the healthy people and say, oh, it's a healthy organic tea and blah, blah, blah. For me, it's a fucking nightmare. It comes with all the drawbacks of an opiate with like a little bit of the reward, if that makes any sense. So you're going to get the withdrawal. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to be sick, you know what I mean? But then you'll get like a little bit of an opiate high, not much. So I started abusing that because me personally, I'm not a fan of fentanyl. I hate fentanyl because, for one, fentanyl's killed all my people, all my friends, like that I grew up with, like literally 4 of my friends. And I can't get off on the idea of almost dying to get high. Like that's crazy to me. You know, like I'm an old school Oxycontin, scratch off the label, you know, black tar heroin, like opiate head, like that stuff. Like people didn't fucking die, you know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, these snorted a quarter of a 30 and they're dead, you know? So that was a good deterrent for me to keep me away from fentanyl, you know? So got into Kratom, and so I'm taking Kratom all the time. I'm justifying it because it's legal. You know, you'll never know that I'm on it, and I'm lying to my platform, bro. I'm making fucking recovery videos and putting out songs. After I just had taken Kratom fucking half hour before the video for some energy, had to take the Kratom for the energy because we take it for the energy now. And you know, that's where I'm at. And it got so bad because then I didn't know what to do, and like fucking 6 months go by, and I'm like in a rut. Like I'm like, something's got to give. And so I came to this point where I was like, all right, I'm either going to go, and I had a suicide plan where I was going to end my life because it was that serious towards me, because everything that I'd worked for, this whole platform I spent almost 2 years building, and you know, this whole my name and my reputation and all these things that I thought mattered, you know, I was ready to take my life over it. So I had like this moment, you know, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. His name's Dustin. I hope he hears this. I hope Dustin gets to see this, because I'm calling Dustin, and I spill my guts and I tell him, I'm like, this is what happened, you know, and he watches all my videos, and they all know who I am. And he's like, listen, man, he's like, don't worry about it. He's like, I'm at a sober living right now. He's like, I want you to come. And this dude didn't have 2 dimes to rub together, and I could just hear the happiness in his voice. He sounded so fucking happy. He had just relapsed too. He had almost a year and a half or a year or 2 years. And he was happy. He was so happy. And he had nothing. He was in a rehab waiting to get a food stamp card so he can buy himself a birthday dinner like the next Sunday. Like he had nothing. And he was just so bubbly and happy every time I talked to him. And I'm over here like making like $1,200 a week working at Texas Roadhouse in Columbus, Ohio, where it's like crazy busy, just and all the money that I know that I need to do with. And I'm miserable. I'm unhappy. I have no friends, no people to call. You know, the platform is just it's just that, you know what I mean? It's not real. I don't have anybody tangible in my life, and I'm ready to fucking die, you know? So I'm like, all right, God, I'll do whatever it is you want me to do. And God said, you got to tell these people, you got to tell everybody, and then you need to go sit down for 90 days. That's what I was challenged to do. Go do a 90-day program and sit there. And then at the end of your 90 days, reassess and figure out what you're going to do after that. So mind you, I have no Facebook following, no nothing, you know what I mean? No, a couple videos are like kind of viral, you know, one video that like did like over 1 million or whatever. None of that matters. I thought it did, you know what I mean? My image was tied to that, you know, but I turned all that up. I admitted, you know, to everybody, hey, I fucked up. I've been fucked up. This has been the thing, you know. I wrote a song. It's called I Relapsed. I perform it all the time at like different places. It's got a real sweet little NF vibe to it. But just told everybody, I said, hey, you know, yeah, oh, dude, huge fan. So told everybody, and people were, I definitely lost some traction over it, lost some followers about it, but people were way more supportive than I thought. And the whole situation was way more supportive. I just remember that day when I was packing, just the relief I felt to finally, like, I don't have to fucking do this anymore. Like, I don't have to lie anymore. Like, I can look myself in the mirror, you know? And on top of that, like, the way the Kratom had made me felt, it was like I was so low and sick. I mean, just my throat hurt all the time. Like my ears would always be like hot, and just, I mean, it was killing me. It was really killing me. I was taking the extracts. The extracts are like $20 a shot. I was doing like 3 shots a day of the extracts.
You were doing, yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot, right? Plus the powder. Plus I was like supplementing with the powder, and then I started dipping my toes into like the thieneptine, which you can get there at the head shops too, which is like SSRI that's legal. That's like an opioid for some reason. That's like Kratom, but not. And it's this whole crazy thing, and like you can't even get help on the withdrawals with. I don't know. Fortunately, I stopped. I went and locked myself down for 90 days, and I just documented the whole thing. And then so then all these songs that I've had put up had been on Spotify at the -1,000. Like, you know, when you put a song up on Spotify and it has the little so all my 2 songs, Subtoxin, Crime Family, were at like -1,000 this whole time. And I went into treatment, and then I made some videos that I've made 100 times, you know, and they went crazy viral. They went insanely viral. And then all of a sudden this whole thing blossomed out of that movement, you know what I mean? To where I got to go play the Michiana Fest. I got booked for the Get Sober, Stay Sober. I got booked for the Lost Voices of Fentanyl in DC this weekend. Like, all of that happened and was born out of me coming clean about my relapse, you know? Right. So today, now I know that like all this stuff is material. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Likes, followers, however many videos, who fucking cares? Like, that doesn't mean anything. It's the message. My only job is when I put out a video, like in my head, I just want to inspire one person. I inspire one person, who the fuck cares what else it does? Trust me, I put out
Right.
videos all the time that do like 200 views or 300 views. I don't care. I'm on to the next one. I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's super freeing, dude. It's really awesome. And then the things I'm focusing on are fellowship, meetings, 12 steps, strengthening my relationship with a God of my understanding. You know what I'm saying? Which mine is God. I call mine God. And yeah, you know, some days I lack at this. I'm not, and that's the thing. I don't want to create this like narrative that I'm over here like making meetings every day and hitting my knees and praying all the time. And boy, golly, I just love praying to God, because I don't do that. Some days I don't pray. Some days I do. Some weeks I don't make meetings. You know what I mean? But one thing I do have going on for me is there's sponsors I always talk to. There's a sponsor, his name's Matt. I talk to him multiple times a week. My roommate's in recovery. We chop it up all the time. Dustin, I still talk to all the time. My girlfriend's in recovery. I got people holding me down and holding me accountable. So that in itself is, it doesn't have a value for me. Like, it's priceless.
I mean, it's good on one end that you were able, for you personally, to recognize that it was an issue for you. Now, people that are listening and watching, what works for you may not work for them, me, vice versa. So there's all these different walks. Like like Kratom, I'll be honest with you. I have my journey, with it, and it literally, like, for me, it saved me personally from my
Yes.
fentanyl. But
Yes,
but
sure.
again, but you're right. And I'll be honest with you right there. It's not designed to be on a long-term basis. And if you do abuse it, yes, you will have the withdrawals from it. Listen, man, I'm speaking from experience too. So I've been there, and I'm still on my own personal journey, in my own recovery. So, but like, if that like you can't fuck with this one thing that is going to lead you down this road, then when you got to walk away and be honest with yourself. So, and it's just like Suboxone or methadone or anything like that. It's like, fuck, like, I know I can't ever take this ever again, because I know it's going to lead me down this path. So I it's very, I think it's very awesome that you were able to, like, okay, like, I fucked up, but you were able to own that you fucked up, but I'm
That's the
right there
thing
with you, man.
too. You will never hear me call for like a ban on Kratom, just because I can't handle it personally. Here's the thing.
Right.
Kratom, it is a tool. It can help people. I'm not here to demonize it. You can't demonize
Right.
the substance. The substance is nothing. The substance is not good or bad. You know what I mean? A substance, us. It's my reaction to it. So, for
Right.
me, you know what I'm saying? I totally, like, if I 100% agree and validate your sobriety. Like, I believe in all forms, all pathways. Some people can
Yes.
fucking smoke weed. I have friends that are
Yeah.
big festy kids that go drop acid and do ketamine like a couple times a year, and they lead fantastic lives. I can't do. I wish I could do that. I wish I
Right.
could. But for me, the self-knowledge for myself, and this is just the recovery that I espouse, and the recovery
Yeah.
that I share with the world, is I'm abstinence based. Because if
Yeah.
I just do one thing, like, I'm not an alcoholic. I can go have a beer right now and not drink 30 afterwards, right? But if I go have a beer right now, then I'm going to be like, oh, I'm a guy that can have a beer sometimes. So then I'll start having a beer sometimes. And then once I've let that in, I'm like, well, I'm probably a guy that can take edibles, right? They're just edibles. So now I'm having beer and edibles, and I'm getting weird, because you're weird when you're doing all that. And then, like, I'm like, well, I could probably take Kratom all the time now. It's just like, once I take one, it's a snowball effect for me. So for me, like, these are the things I have to do to stay sober. Other people can microdose mushrooms and stay sober and smoke weed and live like super healthy lives. And you know what I mean? That's great for them. I can't do that. Like, second, I don't know what it is. It's like, for me, it talks about it in the big book too, is like, I have an allergy to substances, because, like, it's like I'm allergic to the shit, dude. Because if I just do it one time, this obsession takes over me. When I'm telling you, like, when I get obsessed about it, I cannot beat it. Like, I can't just take something once. I can't take nothing once in a while, because that just doesn't exist for me. I'll end up taking something every single day, no matter what, So
Yeah. And your own personal, like, your body, your reaction, and
we all got different things. We all have totally different things. I will say this though, as somebody who's done heroic doses of lots of hallucinogens, I've done heroic doses of some good L. I've done some fantastic mushrooms. I mean, I've tripped very hard. I've blasted off on great DMT. The most insane fucking, like, the most growth I've ever experienced, straight sobriety for long terms. Like, the real places I found myself were in those places of like where I just wanted to escape myself, but I didn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I went really deep into my own psyche of like who I am and like what I'm about, because then I really see myself for like what it is. Because if I can't run into a substance and I really got to sit with some shit and I got to like go through it for a couple days, that's when I found myself. You know what I mean? So I always encourage everybody, you know, you know what I mean? Like if it's in your wheelhouse, you know what I mean? Really challenge yourself sometimes. Try a 30, 60, 90 day, just straight nothing. And you know what I mean? When something inconvenience happens and you find yourself wanting to like try, and I mean no nicotine, no nothing. I mean really sit and like, you know, go through some shit. For me, it was the most profound experience of my life. And I noticed too, like I'm just I'm more creative, which is weird because I used to have to get high to create things. I don't know about you, but I don't know if that was ever
Yeah.
think for
Oh
you.
yeah.
I used to really like to get high and write music. I was that dude that would like do uppers and like freestyle in your ear for like a half hour. Like, oh, you want to hear me rap? Like, I was one of those
Bro.
fuckers.
Yeah, like I told you, you know, you know, I've been doing music, bro, since I was like 14 years old, you know, and specifically hip hop, you know, and bro, I used to have to go and snort a couple 30s, and you know, and I'd
Oh, bro, fuck.
write, you know.
Put me on a couple of 30s. I'm writing an album, bro.
Yep. So
That
I've
was
been
back.
there, bro. Yep.
Yep. Me too. The sun would be coming up. I'd still be going at it. You know, I'm sitting there with my pen and pad, like having my 8 Mile Eminem moment.
Yeah,
But
you know,
now that I'm sober, though, all the songs that you hear, I've written completely sober. All the
that's cool.
songs, every single one, and like the best music I've ever created. And like now I get into these zones. Like when I'm in a zone and I can write, I can put one out quick. It's cool.
Right.
It's cool.
I get writer's block. I'll be honest with you, bro. There's times I could write a song in 10 minutes, and there's times, bro, it might take me 3 months. Like
Oh,
I
yes,
still got
yeah.
stuff that I started writing months ago, and I've got like one verse, and I'm like,
Me too.
man, like, you know, but it's just the way it is, you know, and you know, you know, yeah, bro, I do music that's more recovery based, but man, yeah, I haven't recorded shit in a long time, just because like I don't go and label myself as, you know, a rapper or anything like that, you know. It's just like
Oh God, I don't do either, dude.
Don't lie, you recorded stuff over the past couple months.
Yeah, but I haven't put anything out.
Well, you just told me you haven't recorded though.
No, I said I haven't put anything out over the one.
To yourself.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
I have
hey,
written and I have recorded, but I keep it to myself.
Me too. For every one you see that I put out, 2 have not been put out. You know, there is nothing
Yeah.
worse. It's like when I think I have a good song and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. I'll send it to my producer. I'll be all hype, and we go there and record the motherfucker, and it's a whole different fucking thing. It's like, and my producer's good too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he creates quality. His name's Sabian Myers. He's so fucking clean, and like if it's just once I go in there, like we know it's like it's getting put under a fine tooth comb, and we're gonna really hear it out. So I don't blame you. I hold some back too, buddy.
I'm very nitpicky on my music.
Yeah.
So
Me too.
I will pick a beat, I will write to it, and I'll probably change that beat 3 different times.
Really?
Because I'll start going through my you know, all my instrumentals, you know, and I'm like that would be perfect for the one I just wrote. And then I'd be like, well, no, that one would be perfect for the one. It's so hard because I'm very picky. I've gone and I've shown her stuff, and then I've literally gone back up and I've completely erased everything, deleted everything, and completely rewrote everything.
Oh yeah. Yep, absolutely.
I'm very picky on what I put out.
Where do you get your beats?
So honestly, so I got a buddy back in Arizona that produces. I can do a little bit myself. I learned, you know, a little bit to produce myself, and then others, you know, dude, I'll go to fucking YouTube and find me a nice little beat, you know, and find
You
something.
know where I get mine?
Where?
YouTube.
Yeah.
There's fucking discrepancies. There's big discrepancies. I can't upload my shit anywhere, dude. Copyright struck all the time. It has to be native, dude. All the ones that you've seen, like if it's not native to the app, like if I upload it and if I edit it in CapCut and I try to upload it to TikTok or it's just because of the beat, and I lease the beat. I pay for the beat, but it's leased by so many other people and they have a higher leased. It's such a it's
I used to use SoundClick. I used to use SoundClick for all the instrumentals. I mean, damn, dude, this was. Now I'm thinking about it, 10 plus years ago.
Yep.
Oh man, but
I used to work with a guy that did SoundClick exclusively for a long time.
But man, I tell you, but yeah, you're right. YouTube, bro. It's like You know, you'll
Where's that?
find a beat and you'll pay for it. And then yeah, you're right. You know, like you can't even upload the damn thing, you know? So you
Yeah,
know,
so I'll put mine through a distributor. I use a Muse. So then I get the
okay.
sound bite onto Facebook, and then I get it on the Instagram, YouTube, the sound bites on TikTok, and then I have to do little videos to where the sound bites at, like on there. So that's
Right.
honestly, that is how I have built my entire platform. I got almost Crime Family just broke 100,000 streams. Subtoxin's about to break 100,000 streams. Got 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. All of that happened because of me doing like the reels. Like I literally have
Mhm.
built an entire platform off of reels. It's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, this one right here was supposed to help market the reels, and she hasn't yet. So,
You know,
Tell me before you upload stuff so I can help.
it can be listen, it can be a motherfucker, you know, it really can. You know, for me it's like it goes back in that consistency thing, and you'll notice if you follow me, you'll see me get real hard on it one week where I'm like on a schedule and I'm hitting it, and then all of a sudden I'll just fall off and I'll stop. You know, it's hard to keep that Benjamin Lerner, bro.
yep.
He's my motivation. I'll hit his page, I'll check his page, I'll be like, what's Ben been doing today? And I'm like, he's already got 4 posts done today. I gotta get to work. He's already
Yeah.
done hit him with the live. He's already done hit him with this. He's already hit the organic post. You know, it's cool.
I love
I'm
Ben.
excited about
He's a cool guy. He grinds a
solid,
lot.
solid
Like
as
he
fuck.
was. I remember like when he just went on this transition right now where he was like, okay, now I'm gonna start doing like 4 reels a day. I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start doing that. And so, and I guess that model's working for him, you know. But
It is.
you're right. You're right. You know, he's a good dude. You know, but I'll be honest, man. People look at you, you know, and be like, oh man, I gotta work now.
That's awesome. That's crazy because that I'm not even thinking that myself. I'm looking at other people thinking that about me, you
Yeah,
know.
and other people are looking at you, bro. You know,
Yeah, yeah, crazy.
and it's just a cycle, you know. And so,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
bro,
yeah.
we've been on this 47 minutes, and we haven't even like, bro, we haven't even really like got into like what I was wanting to. I mean, it's
Damn.
cool. No, for
We've
real.
done
Like, don't get
47
me
minutes already.
47 minutes,
Yeah.
bro.
Let's
Like
go.
it's all good. It's all good. Like this is how you know that a conversation is just it's going. And when
Yeah.
you look up when I did Quinn, when me and Quinn did it, 2 hours, hour 55
Wow.
minutes.
Wow.
And I didn't plan for it, man. It's just it was such an authentic conversation and I looked up. So
Cool.
let's kind of back up just a little bit, you know. So what I guess what was your first experience with just in substances or alcohol or whatever you started. I mean, what kind of led you into that?
we haven't hit nothing yet,
No, that's what I'm
dude.
saying, bro.
We haven't done anything. Okay,
Nope.
all right. Okay. So yeah, this is interesting, man. So like I grew up like when I came up, I was born into violence like immediately. Like my very first memory is like of my dad beating my mom and getting hauled off to jail. Like that's the first thing I remember, man. And that like set the tone for like what my life was going to be like. So my mom was like a real bad alcoholic. She was like a natural, legit alcoholic. When she has the first drink, she can't fucking stop and she just wilds out and goes nuts. So it was just a lot of chaos of her just fucking cracking shit, dude. And just like me seeing that and getting thrown around. I never stayed at the same school for longer than a year, you know. So coming up, I had this real big resentment. I was against drugs and alcohol, man. My mom would have beer and I'd go dump that shit out, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to see it, you know. I was really against it, anti fucking drug. I ain't gonna catch you getting high. You ain't getting doing that shit around me. And then my teens came and I got really into like the counterculture, skateboarding, you know, like shit. And I started smoking cigarettes. And I remember I drank Mike's Hard Lemonade and got drunk for the first time. And like one thing that I had my whole life that I didn't know that I had was anxiety. And there was always just this feeling in the pit of my stomach that like something was going to happen. You know, I always walked on eggshells because fucking shit did happen. You know what I mean? As a kid, and you're just powerless to witness all these fucked up things of your mom getting beat up, you know, you getting fucking beat up, and just like, you know, a different boyfriend, and just everything was always on a hair trigger. So I had that feeling of just unease. And I remember I drank that beer and like I could fucking breathe. You know what I mean? I was like, man, this is the fucking bee's knees. I want to feel like this all the time. So I tried that. And I was like, all right, alcohol is cool, but what else we got? You know what I mean? So then I smoked a little bit of weed, and then I was like, oh, that's great. I'm going to listen to Sublime and Pink Floyd now and just smoke weed all the time, you know? So I went through that whole phase. And I remember this is how I ended up coming across having anxiety before anxiety became trendy. I started just like really fucking experimenting with this. I did a lot of Dex. You know what Dex is? The cough medicine, Dexalone, cough syrup. I
Okay,
used to
yeah.
it's called robo tripping. Chug a whole bottle of Robitussin, and it's you're gonna go out there for a while, you know. So I remember we were experimenting. We eat acid, and it's crazy too. You're just eating fucking pieces of paper that some chemist made somewhere, and you just trust that as a kid. It's so crazy. I would never, ever in a million years,
I've
you
never
know.
done it, and I'll never do it.
Yeah, I went out there with acid for a long time, but that's another story. But so anyways,
Right.
I remember we bought these 2 hits of acid. It was called Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon acid, and it had like the little Dark Side of the Moon thing. And I was already robo tripping. I'd already drank like a whole bottle of Robitussin. I was already fucking put 2 hits of acid on my tongue. And like if you know anything about acid, acid doesn't kick in until about 45 minutes, an hour after you eat it. This shit kicked in like 15 minutes. I had to take the piece of paper off my tongue because something was wrong. And I'd never felt like this. I'd never freaked out. And I started going into this freak out. And like we're at my friend's house, and I ended up like stripping off all my clothes, jumping in the shower, thinking I was gonna die. And the mom there that was like getting high with us because some mom was partying with us ended up giving me like 1,000 milligrams of Seroquel, and I slept for like 2 days. I woke up. I never came out of the trip. So like today, like if I look at like the floor, the patterns will move slightly, and not like nothing crazy, but like things move. When I move my hands like this, I still see trails, I still see tracers. I didn't know what was going on. This was like back in 2008, 2006, and I started having really fucking bad panic attacks and thinking that people were like spiking acid and everything. And like I never came out of that trip. And that's how I got into pharmaceuticals, because I hid in my room. I wouldn't leave my room. I wouldn't go to school. I couldn't leave because I'm having all these crazy panic attacks at like 16 years old because I'm stuck in a trip forever. Like it didn't stop. And my mom took me to a doctor, and a doctor ended up prescribing me Xanax. So like, if you remember me talking about that aha feeling with the alcohol, that Xanax was like times 10. I remember I snorted a blue football, 1 milligram, and it did not make me tired. It didn't make me black out. It just made me feel really normal, you know, like that weird feeling in the pit of my stomach went away. The visuals, the hallucinations went away. Like I stopped seeing stuff. I stopped feeling like I wasn't real. And that was the whole thing that started all my trip, is I just felt like I wasn't real. And this is something people talk a lot about a lot now. They feel like they're watching themselves. That's exactly how I would feel back then after that trip. It would be like I would see my hands move and my body move, and it would be like it's not mine. It's like I'm some sort of like consciousness sitting behind and just watching myself do things. And whenever I would feel like that, it would trigger a horrific panic attack. Heart's beating out of my chest, my fucking hands would almost pass out. So then began me being the benzo head that I was, where I was a 10-year Xanax addiction. Now, mind you, I was basically grandfathered into Xanax because they prescribed it to me back in 06. So now I can see any doctor I want for fucking whenever and get Xanax, you know? I remember talking to a doctor as a kid, as a 16-year-old kid, and I'll never forget this. I'm talking to the doctor. I'm like, yeah, I have all this anxiety all the time, and the Xanax is not enough. It only makes it go away for a little bit. I wish I could be hooked up to a drip, a Xanax drip. And I remember the doctor laughed. We just haven't invented that yet. He said that, you know, to a kid, a 16-year-old kid. He didn't ask me what my diet was like. He didn't ask me what's going on at home. The doctor didn't ask me, do you know any breathing techniques? You know, do you exercise? You know what I mean? Do you see a therapist? Like, what's going on? You know what I mean, with your feelings? He didn't ask me none of that shit. He just said, hey, it's 2 milligrams of Xanax a day. Come back and see me next month, you know? So that's what like got me into prescription pill use. And I don't know if you was around in the early 2000s, but it was a wild, wild west for pills back then. So mom gets me hooked on pills. Mom and dad are hooked on pills already, by the way. And it turned into a family affair.
You're really hot.
For you? She's gonna step out.
A few moments later.
Sorry about that. I got like hot and sweaty, and the room started closing on me for a second.
Anxiety.
You started having that panic attack I was talking about, huh?
Well,
no.
All day. I took some medicine earlier too, and took a little nap before this.
So
yeah.
So I would love to go in like what I used to do, what I had to do for panic attacks, and like how I had to face this in prison, because I was a prisoner of panic attacks for years and years and years. You know what I mean? There was nothing I can do. When I would get that room closing, I'm hot, I can't breathe. It owned me.
I don't know if you noticed, like I was fidgeting and stuff like that. Like I was trying, but I had to go outside.
Sure. I get it. I dealt with that for a long time, a very long time. And my answer to that was stop what I'm doing and snort a Xanax. That's it. Not eat the Xanax because it didn't feel the same. I had to stop what I was doing, and I deviated my septum. I had to get surgery on this bitch. Snort a Xanax. That's the only way that a panic attack is going to stop. And that's,
It's
I had
not
to do
always
that 10
it's
years.
not always the drugs that we were addicted to. It was how we did the drugs and the act of doing it. And stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But if we
Absolutely.
didn't do it that way, like you could take a whole bottle of Xanax, snort,
Yep.
and then snort one and you feel better. You know,
100%. I could eat 5 of them and it wouldn't do anything. I would have to fucking snort it because I remember trying to take them orally and it just would not work. I had to snort them, for 10 years until I went to prison. And then that's when I learned that panic attacks are not fucking real, and I'll tell you how. So long story short, I ended up trafficking. I got into some moving weight with this cat and we started doing like music festivals, think like Electric Forest or like Lost Lands or like those big music festivals. Like I was the dude with the backpack dressed up like Hunter S. Thompson because I was a fucking poser. I was a huge poser. That's just what I did. I wanted that look. It was so stupid. So get busted in Michigan with quite a bit of cocaine, and I'd never been in trouble before, so we're going to prison and we're looking at some time. I ended up getting 2 to 20 years. Long story short, I was eligible for boot camp. Boot camp's a 90-day program, but you still got to go to jail and get your prison number and all this shit. So go through all this stuff. God was with me through that whole entire thing. But the first thing that happens when I get to prison is I got 2 prescriptions. I got one for Klonopin, one for Xanax. And I'm like, oh, I got my Xanax prescriptions and I'm going to need them because I'm having anxiety. And they said, oh, we don't give those. We don't give those out here because prisoners will beat you and kill you for your prescription. So here's some Depakote, which is an anti-seizure medication. Good luck, buddy. And that's all they gave me for 2 weeks. And then they stuck me in this like white slab room. I was in Michigan, in Pontiac, outside of Detroit, in this disgusting fucking jail. Oh my God, I'll never forget it. In a paper suit because that's what they give you when you're coming off benzos. So basically, what happened is I had my Xanax taken away from me for the first time in 10 years. Now I can't snort the Xanax when the wall's closing on me. And now I'm locked in a wall with like a 6'4" fucking black dude that like may have just killed somebody that I've never seen. You know what I mean? Like I'm from Bellevue, Ohio. I am not from Michigan. That is not my wheelhouse. You know what I mean? I was fucking intimidated. I was scared. I was having crazy panic attacks. And there were murderers in there waiting trial. There were child molesters. There were murderers. I was around real fucking shit. And I'm a major drug offender at this point. You know what I mean? I'm looking at 2 to 20 years and we're freaking the fuck out. So I'm just having these panic attacks and I find this sheet of paper that teaches you how to breathe when you're having a panic attack. So you start off, you fill up your belly, fill up your chest, fill up your head, you hold, and then you repeat that. I mean, even just doing that, what I just did, I noticed an instant relaxation feeling, right? So I would have these panic attacks and there's nothing that I can do. I'm locked in a jail cell. Who knows what, you know what I'm saying? Anything can happen. I feel like I'm going to die. My heart's beating out of my chest. I essentially at this point have just accepted death because that's the thing I was afraid of the most, right? When I felt the walls closing in on me and I felt that feeling, what is it that I'm afraid of? Am I afraid of walls closing in on me? No, I'm afraid that I can't breathe. Why am I afraid that I can't breathe? Because I'll die. I'm afraid of dying. That's really what the main core of all anxiety is. If you remove everything, it's just you're afraid of death. So what I learned is you have to begin to bully that voice and you got to bully that. And that's what I would do in there. Is that what happened? And in my mind, I would be like, all right, then I guess we're going to fucking die, aren't we? Yeah, I guess the walls are going to cave in and I guess I'm not going to be able to breathe. And I guess I'm just going to drop dead right here and somebody's going to have to call 911. And that's how I got through it. That's how I started taking those steps. And then I would pair that with the breathing, of course. But sometimes I would always be on the verge of it. It would be a whole day thing. It would be gnawing at the back of my head. And there would just be like one little thing that could like set me off at any fucking second. You know what I'm saying? So like it was this whole journey. I've dealt with anxiety for so long. Today, I don't have any anxiety. I do not have panic attacks ever.
Awesome.
Even when I'm on a stage in front of 1,000 people, that doesn't even cross my mind, a panic attack. How? You know what I mean? I dealt with it for 10 years. I got my ass kicked by it. And then finally, when I said enough is enough and I faced my fear in prison and the biggest thing that could have possibly happened, I'm locked in a room. I cannot run. I cannot leave. I can't get to my Xanax. I can't snort the Xanax. I had to sit and face it. And lo and behold, it wasn't real the entire time. It was like this monster that like suddenly didn't exist, that had been standing over behind me the whole time. When I turned around to face it, it just disappeared, you know? So I really like to communicate that with people. It's kind of hard for a lot of people to wrap their minds around, like, oh, this is all in my head, oh, this isn't real. But if you think about it, why are all of our symptoms the same? Shortness of breath, tingling fingers, you get hot, you know what I mean? It gets hard to breathe, or at least you perceive that it's hard to breathe. You just become aware of your breath. We all have the same
Your
exact,
face comes numb, you know.
yeah, all the symptoms are exactly the same. So it's like that, to me, that says something in itself right there. And it's just your mind attacking itself. And like once you like really realize that, and then you can put the three ingredients together, you bully it, lose your fear of death, and learn how to breathe. The belly breaths are so big, breathing into your diaphragm, and just doing that during a panic attack. Like I can slow my heart rate down. There's so many panic attacks I've had to breathe through. But then once I started doing that, they lost like their luster. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been probably 3 or 4 years since I've had a panic attack. So.
There you go. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Keegan's cure to his panic, at least.
Sure. Like I said, my way to it is a little rough and abrasive for a lot of people, because like I like to instruct people to like bully that voice, because at the end of the day, there is a voice in your head and it's saying, did we just breathe funny? Does our chest feel weird? Was that? Is my left arm going numb? Like, and you'll catch yourself having whole fantasies, and like I'm like, nah, interrupt that. Tell that voice to shut the fuck up. Who said you could speak in my house? You know what I mean? Like, this is my house, and I'm gonna have a good day.
Because then you're feeding off of those symptoms. You're like, oh
yeah,
I can't breathe. Oh my god, and then it leads to the next, and you're like, oh my arm. Oh my god, and you feed into that so damn much.
So the minute you interrupt it and you say, who the fuck said you can speak? I didn't say you can speak. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm sitting here in the chair. And then that's where the acceptance of death comes in. Well, if I am going to die and something happens, I'll be on the floor and somebody will have to scrape me up later, you know? And once I digested all three of those, man, I live good today, dude. I really do. It's really cool. I got my butt kicked by that for a long time.
Bro.
That's what I had to do. I went outside and I'm barefoot right now. I put my feet in the grass, got some fresh air.
Yeah.
And came back in, and
how interesting that happened while we were having a conversation. That is
right.
That is serendipitous.
I grew up with anxiety too, but my whole fucking life I dealt with panic attacks that would send me to the hospital. I'd call an ambulance multiple times a week.
Me too.
Send me to the hospital, bro. I thought I was literally dying, and literally, and the fucking paramedics knew me after a while. I'd probably go to the hospital 3 times a week.
Me too.
And I literally, and it was so bad. And they had me on all this medication, Paxil and Ativan and all these things. But you know what, bro? When I decided to finally get off of like the Paxil, to get off of that medication, my anxiety went away.
Right.
Like it was weird. Okay, now it doesn't mean I don't deal with anxiety. I don't deal with it as much as I used to, but bro, it used to be every day. I'd be sitting there watching a movie, and next thing you know, I'm full-blown panic attack. My vision's going, blurry in and out. My hands, my face, my tongue, my chest. I literally get the shakes, like my legs couldn't stay. I mean, I literally, and then did you ever get it so bad where you get that you're breathing so fucked up that your hands get stuck? It's like the your hands literally get stuck like that because the carbon dioxide that you're breathing.
No, that does not happen to me. That would be terrifying. that
was probably the worst of the worst. And literally, like you're cramping up and your hands are fucking stuck. It's because the amount of air and that carbon dioxide and shit that you're breathing, bro. But man, I trust me, man. Bro, I used to pray, bro. I used to ask God, like, why take this from me? Why do I have to deal with this? Like, what the fuck did I ever do to have to deal with crippling anxiety every single day? And literally, like, it was just like either take it from me or kill me. Yeah. Because I was as much as afraid of death as I am, I'll tell you, bro, I'm scared to die. Trust me, I will give myself, you want me to go into a panic attack right now? I'll think about dying, not existing, and I'll be like, no, and then I have to break myself out of it because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Sure.
But
absolutely.
But that's just the thing. Like I was sitting here, but I was accepting to die because I was going through the anxiety. I just wanted to die. And I'm just like, why? Like it was so embarrassing just to be sitting there doing nothing, and all of a sudden you get this fucking anxiety. Now you're calling an ambulance, knowing that you're not going to die, but in your mind, there's not. There's nothing that anybody can tell you that, that, oh, you're not, no, you're shut the fuck up. I'm going to die. Like
Yeah.
that's the way it is,
Word for word. I used to tell myself that same thing. Take it from me or kill me,
Yeah.
Take this from me or kill me. And then I would say the same thing. God, why me? Why can't I be like, that guy who has never had a panic attack, who looks at me like I'm fucking crazy? I used to sit out in the parking lot of hospitals and just, you know what I mean? Like, trust me, man, my biggest bill just finally fell off my credit from like $7,000 or something like that from like going so many. I had so many bills from like going and there just being nothing wrong. They would tell me the same thing. They do an EKG, take blood work, and it would all come back flawless every time. Like there's nothing wrong with you,
Like they pretty much got to the point they'd give me an IV, shoot me up with some, Ativan or something like that. Of course, knock my ass out and do blood work, EKG, rehydrate me and send me on my way, and it was just like, and I think the only reason going to the hospital was because it was that comfort, just knowing like if I go to the hospital, I'm gonna be safe. I don't know why we think that now because people die at the hospital all the time.
Sure.
But we think we're gonna be safe, so.
And what's so strange is like I would love to see how much it's risen, these panic attacks, because what you just described, millions of people have experienced. I just talked to a girl who's going through that same thing where she's having to fucking call an ambulance and go to the hospital because her attacks are so bad. This was not happening in the 50s. You know what I'm saying? 60s, 70s, 80s. So like what has happened that has made us so hyper aware of ourselves in just like the last couple decades where this has become so prevalent? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying it never happened, but I'm saying it's so common now. A lot of people sharing the same thing. Like it's more than less. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So, all right. So
I think one thing that helps me big time is like when I'm having that increased anxiety and panic and stuff like that, and I feel like my heart's racing, I'll have Jared put his hand on my chest.
Yeah.
Or feel my wrists, and he's like, no, he's like, your heart rate is fine, it's going nice and slow. And sometimes he has to repeat that to me a couple times until I'm like, okay,
me too.
like
I dealt with that too.
My heart is not racing. We're not feeling like this. We're okay. Like, and it.
I want you to try some diaphragm breathing, where you breathe into your stomach. Like
somebody
really
taught me about a ping pong on a triangle, and you imagine the ping pong, and you breathe in to pull it one way, you breathe out, and you just keep setting the ping pong.
Yes, that's perfect. That's perfect. And what that does is like when you're taking these breaths, you interrupt your thoughts because you can't breathe in and then think at the same time. So if you're just thinking in, out, in, it interrupts those thoughts and just those precious couple of seconds of like not having it. And then you really do feel relief too. You got to lean into the relief you feel. But all right. We're going on an anxiety tangent.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's really awesome though. Like having, like I said, I've graduated rehab 3 times. That's
awesome.
Being sober. Like I haven't gone to 3 different rehabs. I've graduated the same rehab.
Nice.
Because I think those coping skills
are important.
Are something, they're really important to have your little bag of tools, your coping skills and stuff like that. So when stuff like that happens, you're like, nope, this isn't really what's going on. You can focus in on what's causing that. And I just recently started working with a therapist for my mental health, and it took a little while for me to find somebody that I resonated with, but I'm hoping to get those awesome coping skills that I have to sobriety for my mental health as well.
Awesome.
I do same here, like I started, mental health is huge and it's important, and I've been on this journey the last few months of seeing a therapist myself and, kind of tackling that road, and just going down it. And I got a lot to learn about myself, and I know there's a lot, but like she said, getting those coping skills, and I think overall it'll help, in the longevity of things.
Sure. Absolutely.
So in a brief term, so basically what was your turning point? What basically made you just be like, yo, like I can't fucking do this no more?
All right, I'm gonna tie it up quickly. All right, I got you. I can go, bro. How many times I had just kept fucking up, and I just kept. It's like I went to prison, got out, and then once I got out, I went to a doctor, and I just had a doctor prescribe me a bunch of stuff. I stopped dealing drugs and whatever, and that's when I discovered Kratom and all that. And then I ended up going to Florida, and then I came across the 12 steps my first time, and I had a profound spiritual experience. That's where I started writing the raps, and like the stuff started happening. That's where the whole Matt Keegan thing was born, of just the music side of things. And got clean and sober, and I felt that for the first time in my entire adult life at 29, sober, and I had a lot of good experiences. And 2020 happened. I ended up relapsing again on Kratom, and then I got real bad with a bunch of other stuff, and I got sober again. And then that's when I almost had the 2 years, and then I had the whole platform, and then I relapsed again. And for me, like, what it was is like, once I had gotten a taste of sobriety, it just fucked with how I got high. I just could not get high the same anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it used to be like, it used to make me feel good to go out and like catch a buzz and go out and get high. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, I enjoyed the buzz, you know? And then like, and obviously too, fentanyl came and just changed everything. It's like, you can't go out and buy pills anymore. You can't even go out and buy Molly or ecstasy or nothing anymore without there being fentanyl. So it just got really isolated. You know what I mean? Really isolated and lonely. It just wasn't the same. And even when I tried going to music festivals and taking hallucinogens and just smoking weed and just microdosing mushrooms, it just, none of it worked, dude. This was it for me. You know what I mean? And most importantly, helping other people. You know what I mean? And like living a life that is inspirational to other people. And not only like living that life and espousing it, but walking the talk. You know what I mean? Like, whatever shit I talked, I better damn sure walk. And like, that's how I have to live. Like, I turned away from this. I was ready to give this up so I could go out and do drugs every once in a while. You know, I didn't want to have the recovery platform. And I would always say, like, God, why is there so much expected of me? You know, like, just like a little prissy, whiny little fucking boy, like, oh, why do I have to help people? Well, you know, I had the opportunity to live a life selfishly, and it sucked, you know, because at the end of the day, what the fuck am I going to do if I'm not doing this? Like, go work a fucking regular job and just do what? You know what I mean? Go to the bar and play into the mainstream world and just get money and fuck bitches. Like, it doesn't work for me, dude. Like, that's just, I'm not happy doing that. Like, I'm the happiest when I'm helping somebody like me, you know what I mean? Or like putting something out into the world that makes a difference, because man, all of us can argue politics and this and that, whatever we want. But one thing I'm sure we can all agree on, dude, is like, our world has dark overtones to it. You know what I mean? There is a darkness that like is just as much as there's light, but I want to be a part of the light. I feel like there is a concentrated effort to depress and to oppress people in certain ways, especially with like drugs and substances. And I just want to be against that, you know? So that's what this is. That's what this is. That's why. That was my turning point.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I mean, everybody's turning point's different. You know, some people it's jail, some people it's, you know, rehab, other people. It's just, and that's the thing. Everybody's story is different. I'll be honest with you. I've never been in jail. I've never been arrested. Don't know how the hell I never have, by the grace,
Right.
but I've literally, I'm going to share my full story on Ian Bick's podcast here coming up here next month. And bro, when you hear it, it's going to be like, how the fuck did you not get arrested? How did you not go to prison? You know, it's one of those things where I'm like, thank you, God, for keeping me out, because, you know, and again, you know, it's just, man, it's insane. But yeah, for me, it was just being sick and tired of being sick and tired, you know, just of living the fucking daily cycle. And it's like, dude, something's got to give. Something's got to fucking give. That's what it was, you know. That's what it was, and I'm grateful for it, you know. But yeah, man, no, it's cool that you've been able to turn your life around, that you've been able to be honest with yourself, be able to create this platform, to be able to just speak the truth and you know, use your pain and your experience to help others, you know, because that's why we do this. That's why we do this podcast, bro. Is it's to let other people know that you're not alone. You know, Matt can do it, Brianna can do it, I can do it, you can do it, you know, and that's the way it is. Like, we're just spreading hope and positivity, you know.
Absolutely.
Being
Love
honest after your last relapse and, you know, going through what you went through, you know, that shows people that, you know, we're human. You're not perfect and stuff like that. And I think being honest with yourself is the only way to be in recovery.
Sure.
And that's really awesome of you that you were able to recognize that and follow through with it, you know, and own up to it to strangers that you didn't even have to tell.
Very true.
That was probably a huge step to take.
It was terrifying. I was sure this was over. I was like, all right, it's done. You know, I had a good run. You know, it was cool. But I'm glad I did. And now that I'm on this side of it, I would do it again like this. There'd definitely be a relapse in there, because for me, it's been funny how many more people I've been able to relate to because of that, and it just, for me, it's just, yeah, I want to show people that if I'm doing this, buddy, you can too. Because I've tried and tried and failed and failed and tried and tried and failed and failed. And if I'm somehow putting something together like this, so can you.
Right. Before we wrap up, let's talk about DC, bro. Now you're doing it this weekend, but when this airs, it's already going to be past it. So
Sure, yeah.
about it.
No. It's called the Lost Voices of Fentanyl. It's an event put together by a woman named April and a whole board of women. April is just the one that reached out and contacted me, and it's it's very aligned with like me and like what I do. And she's seen my video Subtoxin, and she asked me to come perform at her event, speak, and kind of touch on it, because they're going there to essentially share there's a bunch of mothers who have lost children to fentanyl, because they don't look at it as an overdose, they look at it as it's poison. Somebody buys that
Right.
perk 30 that has laced with fentanyl, and they didn't know there's fentanyl in it. They didn't overdose, they were fucking poisoned, because they're doing something that has such a high kill rate. And I didn't wrap my mind around that until she shared that with me, and I was like, man, it really is poisoning. We really are being poisoned. Fentanyl, carfentanil, I mean, there's nothing, it's just not like a drug that people should abuse. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't seem recreational at all. Who recreationally does carfentanil? But I can tell you some people that have been poisoned by it. So that's what they talk about. They're going to go to the White House. That's where Benjamin Lerner is going to be going. He got invited on there as well. And it's going to be sweet. They're going to shut down this. They're going to start off at the monument, the White House monument. And they got a whole bunch of speakers lined up. And then they're going to have the police shut down the streets in front of the White House. And they march to the White House, and they do like this whole spiel where they, share their children of the past. And they call on these corrupt fucking politicians to do something about this, which they're not. They're not doing anything about it because it's profitable. And there's probably, all we know is it comes in over the Mexican border, and it's supplied by China. We know where it comes from, and we know who creates it. We know who sends it over here, and they want something done about that. So I'm all for that. I'm all for that. So
That's gonna be fucking cool. That's gonna be awesome, man.
It's gonna be quite. I've never been to Washington in my life, and it's cool. They're putting us up in a hotel. I'm taking me, a couple of my boys, my mom, my girlfriend. Like, we're making a whole fucking thing of it. So it's cool. We're really excited.
Yeah, if we were closer, we'd go, but but man,
you guys are really, if you're on the West Coast, you're not close at all.
we're on the East Coast.
Oh, you're on the East Coast. Oh, New York. Oh, that's still quite a ways, huh?
I used to live in Arizona. So
man, you guys are in. Are you in like New York, like the New York, like the city?
No, we're up near Canada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Western, Buffalo-ish.
I heard New York's all crazy right now. It's going nuts.
Yeah, no, we live in the country, the nice little Amish towns.
Really? Amish towns up there? I didn't know that.
I didn't either until I moved out here, bro. You see,
so cool.
You see horse and buggies all the time, bro.
So you can flex and say you live in New York, but without all the madness of like living in New York.
Yeah, when I tell my friends that I live in New York now, that I moved to New York, they automatically like, "Oh, the New York City." I'm like, "Nah, bro, we're 5 hours from New York City now."
Oh yeah, it's a whole state, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that. I've just learned a little bit today.
I'm from the Albany area, which is the capital. And when I got sober, people, places, and things, I had the opportunity to move out here to this small little town. I was in a town with a population of 400.
Wow.
It changed from a big city, but you know what? It kept me trucking, and I'm not moving anywhere else. I'm not planning on moving anywhere else.
I love my small town.
Yep.
There's Amish close to where I'm at too. Yep. Yeah. I did the big city thing for a while, and I'm good where I'm at.
It was an adjustment for me because I'm used to a big city with 4 million plus population.
Sorry, there was a spider.
Look at what she's doing. They're smacking balls. I'm used to living in a big city, 4 million plus people, population, and I come down to like 400, and it's all good though. It's good. I love it. It's nice and quiet. You get to look out the window and see about 20 different deer in the backyard. It's awesome.
Awesome.
It's really cool. So really quick before we wrap up, one last final thing. Why don't you tell? We'll put it all in the description, but tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your music, platforms?
Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming services, just Matt Keegan. That's Matt, obviously M-A-T-T. Keegan is Keegan. TikTok and Facebook is Matt Keegan Recovery, and that's where I do daily content. I got Instagram and YouTube, but I can't. I focus on TikTok and Facebook the most. So, but you can find me on all of them, Matt Keegan Recovery, and super easy to find. All streaming services with all music. Go check out Crime Family and Agenda 2030. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, we'll send me those links, and I will put them in the description when this drops.
Beautiful. Thank you.
But all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in with us today. If you haven't, go show Matt some love, give him a like, give him a follow, listen to his music, share it. Man, thank you again for coming on. And Matt, hour and a half almost, bro. We had a good conversation, bro. It was a
Not
rare.
bad for 9:30 at night.
Bro, I thoroughly enjoyed it, bro. I really did. So, just remember, people out there, if you're struggling, you can reach out to Matt, you can reach out to myself, you can reach out to Brianna, you can reach out to any of us.
Anybody.
We're here. We are here. Yep. That's all you need to do is pick up, just reach out.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're not alone. And that's the biggest thing. You're not alone, and keep trucking. And what do? We recover out loud, so those that are suffering, it's like, it's just, we gotta be loud with our recovery. We gotta be loud and proud with it. We can't be ashamed about it. So
love it. Absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in again. We love you guys, and until next time, peace.